We are starting with the 12th chapter, that is chemical equilibrium. I would like to give you some example and you will have to identify what type of changes they are. The first example is natural waterfall. Second example is spreading of smoke from burning incense stick. The third example is diffusion of fragrance from flowers. So what type of changes are this? Can these changes take place in opposite direction? We all are aware there are two types of changes, physical changes and chemical changes. Physical changes are related to the appearance of any particular thing, whereas chemical changes are the changes that take place due to chemical reactions. There are also reversible and irreversible changes. Reversible changes are those which take place in both the direction, that is forward as well as backward. Irreversible changes are those which take place only in forward direction. So if we recall the examples given prior, that is natural waterfall, spreading of smoke from the incense stick, or diffusion of fragrance from flowers, all these examples are irreversible physical changes, which means they only take place in one direction. Natural waterfall means water falling from a height. It is not possible for that water to go from a lower position to the higher point. If we want to do that, then we have to fix a water pump. Similarly, the smoke which is coming out of the incense stick cannot be put back into the incense stick. Hence, it is a one-way change. In this chapter, Chemical Equilibrium, we are going to study about reversible chemical reactions. Now we are going to study an activity wherein there is change in color of the solution because of a chemical reaction taking place, and this chemical reaction reverses its direction with change of temperature. Here we have to take 4 grams of cobalt chloride and we have to dissolve this cobalt chloride in 40 ml of water. This forms a reddish pink solution. Next step is we have to add 60 ml of concentrated HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, to it. After the addition of HCl, the solution turns violet in color. Once this solution is ready, we have to take 5 ml of it in a test tube and place it in a beaker which has ice water mixture. The color of the solution will become pink. Now we will place the same test tube in a beaker containing water at 90 degrees Celsius. 90 degrees Celsius means it is hot water. And now the color of the solution turns blue. If you observe the picture here, the pink color solution was due to the temperature being less, that is it was placed in a cold beaker. The solution turned violet when it was placed at a temperature of 90 degrees Celsius, means hot water beaker. This reaction is an example of reversible reaction, which means it takes place in two directions. So if you observe this reaction here, you can see there are two arrows pointing, one in the forward reaction and one in the backward reaction, and hence it is a reversible reaction. If we look at the following examples, that is carbon plus oxygen in the presence of heat forming carbon dioxide, and potassium chlorate, that is KClO3, in the presence of heat forming potassium chloride and oxygen, are the examples of irreversible reactions. Irreversible reactions are those which proceed only in a single direction. So if you compare the arrows of reversible and irreversible reaction, you can get the answer from these arrows itself. Okay, when there is only arrow pointing in one direction, then it is going to be an irreversible reaction. If there are arrows pointing two ways, that is forward as well as backward, then it is going to be a reversible reaction. Here are some examples of reversible reactions, that is hydrogen plus iodine gives the formation of hydrogen iodide. You can see the arrows pointing two ways, that is forward as well as backward, and hence it is a reversible reaction. Let us now consider another example where we are going to take calcium carbonate and bring about its decomposition. When calcium carbonate is heated strongly, it decomposes to form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. We are going to study the decomposition of calcium carbonate by using two criteria, that is carrying out the decomposition in an open container or beaker and in closed container or beaker. Open container means whatever matter or energy is there, it can get exchanged, whereas if something is closed, then whatever is present inside, it cannot escape outside. So we know this basic. Before proceeding to the activity, we need to know what is a closed system and what is an open system. So in a closed system, there is no exchange of matter with the surrounding, but exchange of heat can occur. For example, covering a hot cup of tea with a saucer. An open system, it exchanges both matter as well as heat with the surrounding. So now you can keep the hot cup of tea open, need not cover it with saucer. The next system is an isolated system, and this system does not exchange heat nor matter with the surrounding. For example is the thermoflask that we use. You will be studying these systems in detail for 12th standard. First, we are going to carry out the decomposition of calcium carbonate in a closed system at a high temperature. We know that calcium carbonate decomposes to calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. However, it is observed that along with calcium oxide and carbon dioxide, some amount of calcium carbonate is also present. If we continue the same reaction for a longer period of time at the same temperature, it is found that the concentrations of calcium carbonate, calcium oxide and carbon dioxide remains unchanged. So from this we can conclude that the reaction has stopped and the system has attained its equilibrium. Chemical equilibrium is a condition in the course of a chemical reaction where there is no net change in the amounts of reactants and products. However, in a closed system, the reaction actually does not stop. It proceeds in both the direction with equal rates. What does this mean? Calcium carbonate first decomposes to form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. The same calcium oxide and carbon dioxide recombines to form calcium carbonate again. So such reactions which do not go to completion and occur in both the directions simultaneously are called as reversible reactions. So in general, if we want to represent a reversible reaction, we can write it as A plus B, a forward arrow giving you C plus D, then C plus D will recombine again to give the formation of A plus B. So the double-sided arrow here indicates a reversible reaction. Now we are going to carry out the same reaction, that is decomposition of calcium carbonate in an open container or open system. In this case, calcium carbonate decomposes to calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Since carbon dioxide is a gas and the reaction is carried out in an open vessel, it is going to escape. So it is just left with calcium oxide. Hence it is not possible for the calcium oxide to again react with carbon dioxide and form calcium carbonate. Hence it is just a one-way reaction and it is a irreversible reaction. So you can write the general representation for carrying out the decomposition of calcium carbonate in an open vessel as CaCO3 in the presence of heat gives calcium oxide, that is CaO, and carbon dioxide, that is CO2. But when you write the same reaction in a closed vessel, you will have to put double arrows. Calcium oxide is also called as quicklime, or when you heat calcium oxide, it gives out a bright white color. In older times, it was also used in theatre lighting, and that is why it was called as in the limelight. The next topic that we are going to study is the equilibrium in physical processes. Under this, the first equilibrium which we are going to study is the liquid vapor equilibrium. Here we are going to study the evaporation of liquid water into water vapor in a closed vessel. We are going to take water in a closed vessel. So initially in the first flask, you will see that vapors are very less as compared to the second flask. When a liquid starts evaporating in a closed vessel, the liquid molecules, they are going to escape from the liquid surface into the vapor phase, and this is going to build pressure on the walls of the closed vessel, and that pressure is called as vapor pressure. Since the container is closed, these vapors, they cannot escape out, and hence they condense back to the liquid. Condensation is a process wherein vapors, that is gaseous phase, gets converted into liquid. In the first flask, you will see that the rate of evaporation is high, which means the molecules which are present at the liquid surface are getting evaporated, and the rate of condensation is low because there are no enough vapors to get condensed back to the liquid. But if you look at the second flask, you will see that there are more and more vapors. So as the time passes, the molecules which are present at the surface of the liquid will evaporate to a greater extent, and that is the time when the rate of evaporation is going to become less and the rate of condensation is now going to be high. Eventually, a time is going to come when the two rates are going to become equal and we will get a constant vapor pressure, and this state is known as the equilibrium state. Hence, equilibrium state is a state wherein the number of molecules leaving the liquid surface is equal to the number of molecules returning to the liquid from the vapor phase. So in simple words, it can be stated as rate of evaporation is equal to rate of condensation. So the general representation can be written as H2O, that is water, in liquid state getting evaporated to water vapors, that is in gaseous state, and this water vapors getting condensed back into liquid. At equilibrium, the pressure which is exerted by gaseous water molecule at given temperature remains constant, and this is known as the equilibrium vapor pressure of water. Next is the solid liquid equilibrium. Here we are taking the mixture of water and ice and we are placing this mixture in a thermos flask at a temperature of 273 Kelvin. Now thermos flask is an example of isolated system. Isolated system is that system wherein there is no exchange of heat and energy from the system to the surrounding or from the surrounding to the system. So the ice and water is going to remain in the same state. If we connect this to our everyday life, then when we want to keep the tea hot, then we add the tea in a thermos flask and it remains hot for a longer period of time because the heat of the tea cannot escape out of the thermos flask. Also, the surrounding air cannot go inside the thermos flask, and that is the reason that it remains hot for a longer period of time. Next is the solid vapor equilibrium. For solid vapor equilibrium, we are going to take iodine crystals in a closed vessel. Since we are taking iodine crystals, they are in solid state. As the time passes, you will see there is a purple color which is developed inside the closed vessel. And this shows that the crystal iodine gives out violet color vapors. However, the intensity of the violet color becomes stable after certain time. If you observe the picture here, it shows the iodine crystals along with the iodine vapors. This means the iodine sublimes to give iodine vapors. Sublimes or sublimation is a process wherein the solid state directly gets converted to gaseous state without undergoing the liquid state. This iodine vapors which are formed here in the flask cannot escape out since it is a closed system, and they will condense back to form the solid iodine. Hence, the general representation for the above experiment can be written as I2, which is in solid state, on sublimation forms iodine vapors which are in gaseous state, and this iodine vapors, they again condense back to form the solid iodine. The other examples of sublimation process are the camphor and the naphthalene balls. Naphthalene balls are kept in the clothes, and you will observe that being a solid, it gets disappeared, that is, it gets converted into vapor without undergoing the liquid state. Imagine that I give you some amount of sugar to be dissolved in a particular amount of water. At room temperature, of course, it is going to dissolve. Now, if I increase the temperature, that means I am applying heat. And if I give you more amount of sugar to be dissolved in the same amount of water, then what is going to happen? It is going to form a thick sugar syrup solution. When you cool this sugar syrup at room temperature, you will observe that the sugar crystals are separated out. Why did sugar form crystals? This was because the capacity of water molecules to take in sugar molecules was completely filled. Also, there was an equilibrium which existed between the solute molecules in the solid state and in dissolved state. So the rate of dissolution of sugar is equal to rate of crystallization of sugar. Dissolution means mixing of sugar with water molecules to form a solution. Next topic is equilibrium in chemical process. When we carry out a reaction in a closed system, we often see that the products and the reactants cannot escape. However, this type of reactions do not yield 100% of product. When there is no further change in concentration of reactant and product, we say that the reaction has attained equilibrium, with the rates of forward and backward reaction being equal. If we take N2O4, that is nitrogen tetroxide, in a closed flask, it gets converted to NO2, that is nitrogen dioxide, which is a reddish brown gas. The brown color is because of NO2 in the mixture, that is nitrogen dioxide. The formation of nitrogen dioxide from nitrogen tetroxide is a reversible reaction, which means the reactants react to form products and the products react again to form the reactant. In this reaction, nitrogen trioxide gives the formation of nitrogen dioxide. The two molecules of nitrogen dioxide again then combine to form nitrogen tetroxide. And at equilibrium, the concentration of N2O4 and NO2 is going to remain unchanged. Hence, we can conclude that rate of formation of N2O4, that is nitrogen tetroxide, is equal to the rate of formation of NO2, that is nitrogen dioxide. Here is a graph in which concentration is plotted against time, and this graph gives us information regarding the forward and reverse reaction rate versus time for the conversion of nitrogen tetroxide to nitrogen dioxide. Let us study another example. Hydrogen iodide, which is a colorless gas giving the formation of hydrogen and iodine, which is a violet gas. We are going to carry out this reaction in a closed vessel using hydrogen iodide as the reactant. Initially, it will be observed that the intensity of the violet color increases, and after some time, the increase in the intensity of violet color is going to stop. It is observed that in the closed vessel, hydrogen iodide, hydrogen and iodine is present. Though the reaction took place, there is still little amount of hydrogen iodide which is left back, and their concentrations also remain constant over time. The rate of decomposition of hydrogen iodide becomes equal to the rate of combination of hydrogen and iodine. During equilibrium, there will be no change observed and the reaction will continue to occur. Again, we are going to carry out the same reaction in a closed vessel, but now we will be using hydrogen and iodine as the reactants. Here, initially, the color of iodine is going to be very deep violet. But as the reaction proceeds, the intensity of violet color is going to decrease. And a time will come when the change in the intensity of violet color will stop. So when the analysis was done, it was observed that the reaction mixture contained hydrogen iodide, hydrogen and iodine, with their concentrations remaining constant over time. So from this we can conclude that same equilibrium can be attained by starting from any side, that is by either using hydrogen iodide as reactant or using hydrogen and iodine as reactant. Now we are going to study law of mass action and equilibrium constant. The chemical equilibrium is mathematically described as equilibrium constant and it is denoted by Kc. How do you determine a rate of a chemical reaction? We are aware that when a chemical reaction takes place, the concentration of reactants decreases while the concentration of product increases. Hence, we can determine the rate of reaction by measuring the extent to which the concentration of reactants decreased at a given interval of time and the extent to which the concentration of product increase at a given interval of time. So mathematically it can be expressed as rate is equal to minus d reactants divided by dt. Now we are putting the sign minus here because the concentration of the reactants decrease, is equal to d products divided by dt. Here there is plus sign because there is increase in the concentration of the products. The brackets indicate the concentration of that particular species. The alphabet small d stands for very small change in the concentration during the small time interval dt. Next is the law of mass action. This law states that the rate of a chemical reaction at each instant is proportional to the product of concentration terms of all the reactants. So let us consider a general reaction, that is A plus B giving us the product C. So here A and B are the reactants and C is the product. The concentration of the chemical species here is measured in terms of mole per liter. If we apply the law of mass action to this reaction, then it will be written as rate is directly proportional to concentration of A product concentration of B. In simple words, I would just like to tell you that law of mass action says that rate of reaction is directly proportional to the concentration of the reactants. So I told you these brackets here, they indicate the concentration and the reactants are A and B. Now if we want to get rid of the proportionality sign, then we have to put a constant here along with the equal to sign. Hence the above equation can be written as rate is equal to K concentration of A product concentration of B. So this equation here is called as the rate equation and the proportionality constant K is called as the rate constant. So this was all about today's video. In this video we have covered reversible and irreversible changes or reactions. We also covered the equilibrium in physical processes and chemical processes, law of mass action and rate of chemical reaction.